Thank you for checking out our video on offensive line content. Please do me a favor. Please make sure you subscribe and hit that like button.
So I'm, Rob Orell, offensive line coach for the Massachusetts Pirates. I'm here to talk about offensive line and the culture that I kind of put onto my guys and I believe in, and I try to get my guys to emulate on the field and off the field. Who I am, like I said, the offensive line coach for the Massachusetts Pirates indoor football team. We're located in Worcester, Massachusetts. I have 5 years of coaching experience, coaching players from the Division III level all the way to the NFL, XFL, some D2 guys as well. So I definitely have a little bit of range on that. The former offensive line and run game coordinator for Nichols College, a D3 school where I graduated from in Dudley, Mass. And I'm also a former arena football player myself. So I'll start off with the offensive lineman that I'm looking for, the kind of guys that I'm trying to build in our program or my program. My main thing is I'm not looking for stereotypical O-linemen. I'm looking for athletes. What that means is not just fat, out of shape guys who are okay with just, kind of looking gross. I want guys who are students of the game, great feet, want to learn more, want to be athletes, because to be an athlete, you don't have to be the skinniest or the best hands, but you have to want to learn the game. You want to have to be better than you were yesterday and really put yourself in the position to help your team win. I also tell my guys, make the most out of every rep. Reps aren't promised. People get hurt. Sometimes you go down with the ankle injury or whatever injury it may be, and, you see your reps kind of dwindle out. Maybe you come in as a freshman or a guy that kind of a little hot, you think you're going to be taking a spot over, and you let those reps go and you don't really get to show out who you are. Every rep you get is an audition to play for more. So that's what I tell my guys. Hey, you might get 2 reps today. If those 2 reps are really bad and we go back and film tomorrow and watch them, and that's all we got, then I can't give you more. But if you go take those 2 reps and I see positive growth, then we can, work towards 3, 4, maybe getting you in that second group and, pushing towards the starting spot. Injury versus pain, I think, is a big thing for the guys that I look for. As myself, I was a big guy on a lot of injuries. I had 2 shoulder surgeries, 2 hand surgeries, broken foot, knee problems, all these different types of things. But I knew that there's a difference between when I can actually go out and play and when I was just feeling sore. The first day of camp, everyone feels pain, right? Getting all those first day hits in, going to the weight room, you're waking up the next day and all you're feeling is pain, but you can't take the next day off. You got to come back, like I said, the next day better than you were the day before. So really knowing the difference between injury and pain is something I really want my guys, my offensive linemen, really any player that's under me to really understand. I want to be the hardest working group on and off the field. So I start off with academics. We must care about academics. They can't just be, we're a student athlete, or, when I'm at the college level, we're student athletes. That's has to be one of our biggest priorities. And if you're taking care of them, the academics, then I'm sure you're taking care of the stuff on the field as well. But when you start letting the academics go, that's when you start letting things on the field go. And when you're not taking care of academics, you're probably not going to have a good GPA. And when you don't have a good GPA and you're potentially, losing time on the field because you got to go take care of other stuff, I can't build around you. And as an offensive lineman, we got to have guys who are consistently there because, we all know it's a culture of brotherhood and, timing. So you're not there because you're missing out on other stuff because of not taking care of your academics. That's a huge problem for me. A big thing that I tell my guys is, if one guy misses class, we're all running. It's not just a one person thing, because this is the only group on the field that if one person messes up, it messes up everybody else's assignment. If I'm the left guard and I'm supposed to be worrying about, double teaming with that tackle, and I, for some reason, go the opposite way, well, now that tackle can't do his job. The next thing I really want our guys working hard on is the weight room. Weight room is where you start to earn the respect and start building trust of others around you, not just your offensive line group, because the offensive line group is going to see where you on the field working hard. But that's where you start gaining the respect of everybody else around you. That's where you start building some culture. I think, the weight room really shows if your team has culture or not, and it really shows, what your offensive linemen are like. The film room is huge. If you aren't watching film, you don't care about winning, because if you aren't watching film, you're not learning about your opponent or learning about yourself. How can you learn what your weaknesses are and get better from them if you're not taking the time off the field to see your own mistakes? And vice versa, looking at the weaknesses of your opponents, how do you know what they are? You can't wait till the third quarter to finally start getting a read on a guy. Come into the game beforehand, understanding what their tendencies are, and you'll really be able to work your game better. O-line is a brotherhood, and that's one of the biggest things I can state. When I talk to my guys, I want them to be the closest group on the team. I know last year with the Pirates, with everything going on, we were still always together. We were going out and having dinner at least once a week with each other, where we really didn't talk football. We just kind of hung out. We had some pretty good food, and I think that's a fun time. Big guys and food are never a bad thing to be around. So I also think communication's key. Where you're going and who are you going with is huge. What are your calls? What are you saying to the guy to your left and right to make sure they understand where you're going? I let my guys kind of decide what their calls are. I've never been like a coach that says, hey, this is what we're going to call it. You got to learn my terminology, because I want the guys to have fun with it. I want them to remember what they're calling, a double team up to the linebacker. What's the difference between a double team and a zone, call? I know some guys call it sticky because they stuck together and worked up, whatever it may be. I want them to come up with it. I think it's fun for them. But as a coach, you got to let them kind of choose or tell them what it is. But there has to be some kind of communication and some kind of verbiage going on between that O-line. Reps really help with communication, I believe, as well, because at some point, hopefully you have a consistent O-line where they're working with each other so much that communication doesn't really need to happen, week 7, 8, and 9, 10, because they've been working with each other all season. They understand what's going on. They just had to give each other a head nod, and they know what's going on. I think that once you get to that level, you really have done a great job coaching, and I think you got a good offensive line who kind of have a good culture with each other. Another reason why I think reps is important, though, is because during practice, I'm always telling my guys, I want to hear our calls. Later on in the season, we can talk, but camp, first couple of weeks, new O-line, I need to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I'll make sure we don't run the play until I've heard everybody make their call, everybody confirm our call, and then we can go on. Because if we don't get the beginning part right, the rest of the play is trash. We're only as strong as our weakest link on and off the field. So I touched upon it with the weight room and, being the hardest workers off the field. But I want to make sure that, we're getting our stuff in the weight room, academics all done, so we're not worrying about that once we hit the field. When we're able to start doing that and guys are able to start seeing each other in the weight room, in the classroom, working hard, that's where you start learning trust. And, I have trust right there because I think it's key. Guys need to be building trust wherever they're at. Academics, weight room, lunchroom, parties. I want them to start trusting each other because it all comes back onto the field. If you can't trust a guy that you're working next to, then you're not going to be able to do your job because you're going to be worrying about that guy. As coaches, we need to earn their trust. Some of these freshmen, or new guys coming into your team, they have no idea who you are. As coaches, we kind of think like they got to respect us, they got to, do this, do that. But we got to work for it as well, because if we don't work for it, we don't give them our trust, we can't get their trust. And once we have their trust as players, they're going to go through a brick wall for us. If we show them that we care about them and we want the best thing for them, then they're going to do everything they can to make sure that we're looking good. And that's how you start seeing results. Pass protection. My biggest complaint when I talk to other people sometimes is, they hear, I've been a part of spread teams, RPO, and they're like, pass pro is passive. And I hate that line. I don't want to hear that out of my offensive lineman. Pass pro does not mean passive. Experience with spread systems, like I said, I've seen guys that are extremely aggressive on pass protection, and it's just because of watching film and understanding what's going on behind them. It's a great chance to show knowledge in film work. So if you're watching, a team that's, they're going to get the pass rush, they're bull rushing or they're swimming, you're able to really show what you've learned during the week and really apply it to the game. I tell my guys, D linemen can't jump. If they jump, they better regret it, and they better be on their backs at the end of that play. If they're starting to get into the throwing lanes, that's still on us. That's almost just as bad as a sack, in my opinion, because we're not doing our job. Last touch, I tell my guys kind of like a funny thing is last touch. So what that means for them is a slight hit after the whistle. Nothing bad, nothing, cheap or could be, flagged, but just a little hit of the wrist, a little hit on the back of the arm, something to get inside their head. Because if we can get inside the D lineman's head, understand what they're doing, get them off their game, we can really start to manipulate what they're going to do and make sure they're playing to our advantage. And that kind of comes with the next thing. It's the curveball. The curveball is my favorite thing. I was always a lighter offensive lineman. So, cutting people, jump setting people, getting them to not know what's coming next is huge. So, that being said, as coaches, when we go on 2 or we do a different count, we need to make sure we're helping out the offensive lineman and mixing that in the game more. But as offensive linemen, we got to earn that. So if during practice we have an on-2 play and they're jumping every time, or we're false starting every time, then as a offensive coordinator, as a play caller, I can't trust that that's going to actually work. So as offensive linemen, we got to earn that, curveball, but as play callers, we need to also keep that in the back of our head whenever our offensive line is starting to get beat more. Run blocking, I want my guys to revenge block. I want them to deliver the hit. They, again, a lot of people say it's all about, pass protection is passive. Well, if I ever hear that out of an offensive lineman's mouth and then I go and see them run blocking, slightly, I'm going to have a big problem with that. This is their time to really deliver the blow, really rock somebody's world. It's your chance to take control of the game. You know where the play is going. You know what the count is. You know everything about that play. You got to go deliver it now. I tell my guys, block like someone just took the last chicken at the buffet, really run them over. Make sure they know where you are, because I don't want them getting up after that play. I don't want them coming back. And every time they come back, take that as a personal thing, because it's your blocks. If you're not making them want to get off the field, then you didn't do a good enough job yet. Tell them, like I said, firing off the ball, that's part of your curveball. That's part of your run blocking. That's part of your game. So if you're firing off the ball, it's a huge advantage for you. So one of my favorite drills that I love to do with my guys is the stop and starts, where we start on the line. Maybe you start on a hill. I love doing the hill. It kind of burns the legs a little bit more, but you sprint about 5 yards, shut down. Sprint about 5 yards, shut down. We do that a couple times, and then I start mixing in different counts to really get my guys working, because fourth quarter, that's when it really happens. That's where you start getting tired and all the mental mistakes start to happen. So if we can get those out of there, I think that's a huge huge help for our guys in practice. That's all I have for now, at least. I'm still learning of the game. I'm still a pretty young coach, so I'm trying to learn as much as I can. I'm definitely happy to give more knowledge to anybody that needs it, but I'm also excited to get more knowledge. That's why I love pages like this. But my contact information is all here. I'm always willing to talk to coaches, learn from other coaches, hear other ideas, because it's a great game, but it's always growing. So what I know yesterday might not be the newest thing tomorrow, but I'm excited to learn.